This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Brandon McManus does not have the same concern level as his coach does over a quad injury that left him limited at practice today. Packers kicker got injured yesterday. Explained today what happened.
I was kicking, warming up. I had kickoffs earlier in the day, and then I was warming up for field goals. I kind of felt a tug against my quad. I gave it a couple minutes, tried again. I just shut it down for the day. I didn't want to make it worse.
Earlier today, Coach Matt LaFleur said he had major concern about whether McManus would be available this week against Cincinnati. McManus said he plans to play.
He didn't speak to me about that, so he has his own thesaurus encyclopedia to describe injuries.
McManus told reporters he had a similar injury in 2022, but ended up playing, hitting a pair of 50-yard field goals. Meanwhile, it was a third straight practice for offensive linemen Zach Tom and Aaron Banks. Same goes for wide receiver Christian Watson. However, left tackle Rasheed Walker did not practice due to an injury. Green Bay back out there tomorrow for one more practice before Sunday's game against the Bengals. Turning to the Badgers, they will host Iowa on Saturday night at Camp Randall Stadium. Hawkeyes won 3 straight in the series, 4 of the last 5. Badgers have not beaten a Power 4 team in almost a year. Kick is at 6.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
When a company only does business in Wisconsin, that's Wisconsin Strong. Rural Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums stay right here to keep Wisconsin strong. Local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Brewers will once again look to end the Cubs season tonight. Game 4 of the NLDS. Freddie Peralta will go on short rest for Milwaukee, while Chicago rolls with Matthew Boyd on short rest. First pitch down at Wrigley is set for 8:08. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, Print.
Very frustrated. Very frustrated with that first inning, the only inning. Command wasn't good. Stuff wasn't coming out the way I'd wanted it to, and ultimately it falls onto me to make an adjustment. It's going to be different every day. You're going to have different circumstances to have to work with and battle through, and it's up to pitcher making an adjustment to get us at least give us a chance, get the ball in play. And didn't do that today. Didn't give us a chance, and everyone else played real well with the exception of myself. So definitely feel like that's entirely on me.
I think the moment got to him a little bit. It's his first postseason appearance and a long layoff. It's in his hometown. Yeah, I feel for him because that's not typically how he's done this year. It was the difference in the game.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
That's Quinn Priester from after the game last night. And then Pat Murphy talking about Quinn Priester. And that soundbite from Pat Murphy is kind of funny. And there might be more to it. I didn't listen to the entire presser today. Hand up, I'll be honest. Now, had they won, I would have listened to every single second of it, and I would have watched the highlights 3 or 4 times. But when one of my team loses, I just kind of ignore every part of it until the next game. It's the same with the Packers as it is with the Brewers. So maybe Pat Murphy, I'm sure Pat Murphy expanded on that and talked more about Priester and talked more about the game. But typically when a manager says something like that, it'll be like, well, Quinn didn't have it early, but I mean, it's a long ball game and we got to pick him up and we had plenty of opportunities to win. And instead he basically said, yeah, that was the difference in the game.
A jump start and was the difference in the game.
It was the difference in the game. It was Quinn Priester, which again, I would assume if you listen to the rest of the presser, he expanded on that a little bit, but I also wouldn't put it past him if he's like, yeah, that was the difference in the game. It was Quinn Priester having nerves, not being able to locate his stuff in the first, putting us in a little bit of a jam and putting us down 3-1. Then we got to bring Nick Mears in. And I joked on Twitter last night, but I think there's some truth to this. Nick Mears normally warms up 3 or 4 separate times before coming into the game. I can't imagine mentally he was prepared to come in, and then he corks one to the backstop. It's like, okay. Now, 4-1 after the first inning, they had opportunities to win last night. They had lots of chances, including the bases loaded in the 8th and the night's best hitter, Jake Bauers, at the plate, and they just couldn't get it done. So it's not like they were completely porked by the first inning, but that was certainly the moment that you look to. That's certainly where you start when you talk about what went wrong or what didn't go right in the case of other things throughout the game for the Brewers. So we'll start there. We'll talk a lot about the Brewers tonight. They dropped game 3 last night. And it was on during the show. It was difficult to talk about. People were probably watching or listening to the game instead of listening or watching the show, which I get it. It's fine. It's completely understandable. I probably would have done the same. If I had the option to listen to me or listen to that game, I would have listened to the game. But they fall 4-3. It comes all the way down to the 8th and the 9th inning. And that's where we'll begin tonight. So I'll take your calls and your thoughts on that. And then we can look forward to game 4. Tonight, Freddie Peralta versus Matt Boyd. They're running it back. Both pitchers basically on normal rest. It doesn't feel that way because of the days off. But if they were playing every day and this was the normal regular season, this is in the rhythm of both of those guys, right? 4 or 5 days rest or whatever it amounts to, normal rest for a starting pitcher. So 608-321-1670. I'll take your phone calls right after our first break, right after the opening segment, if you would like to join. Mike Clemens is going to be here at 5:30. We'll wrap up the show with the latest up in Green Bay. They're back kind of into the swing of things and back on the practice field. And Micah Parsons spoke today, and Mike Clemens sent it over. Rush in all capitals in the subject line of the email. And then he texted me separately and said, Micah Parsons was awesome. He was great. So we might just dip into that because I want to know what all the hubbub is about. I want to know what's got Mike so hot and bothered. So if we don't have completely, totally full jammed phone lines, maybe at the start of the 5 o'clock hour, we'll dip into Micah Parsons and listen to that just a little bit. You know, as I give you my thoughts, I'll give you my take on last night's game. I did not enjoy it. I will not enjoy tonight's game. I probably wouldn't have enjoyed games 1 or games 2, game 1 or game 2, the first 2. I probably wouldn't have enjoyed those 2 games. I wasn't able to watch most of game 1 because of the wedding, but I saw the good parts at the beginning. And then in game number 2, right, that Andrew Vaughn homer early on, like I had those been more normal competitive baseball games down to the 9th inning, down the entire stretch and down to the wire, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed them. I'll be 100% honest with you. I'm probably going to go to the gym after work tonight. Not because I'm going to get jacked and health is so important. There's some nights where I'm like, what am I supposed to do with myself? Right. It's a good way to keep myself from being bored. So I'll probably just go to the gym. And I think I'll probably listen to this game for the first couple of innings. And maybe not even, I might just watch StatCast. I might just watch the little visualizer. I might just watch the little stick figures and the pitch tracker. I don't know what it is, guys. I love the Brewers. And there's nothing like playoff baseball. If they were playing a team other than the Cubs, maybe it would be different. I cannot bring myself to watch these games. It's like a horror movie. You know, when you're watching a horror movie, you're in the theater, you're at home, and you know something effed up is about to happen, and you partially obstruct your view with your hand. It's like, I can watch this movie, but I can't, I need to block 70% of the screen. I need to shield myself. We've all had that experience, right? When we feel something big coming, when we feel a jump scare coming, you're like, I'm going to squint my eyes because for whatever reason, it'll be less scary if the image is blurred by my eyelashes, or I'm going to put my hand out and just peek around my pinky because for whatever reason, again, if someone jumps out and stabs this girl in the neck, it's going to be more bearable for me to watch if I obstruct my view a little bit. I'm going to be like Brandon Beane, at least for the start of this game tonight, or Billy Beane. Brandon Beane is the Bills. Billy Beane with the A's. Both and Brad Pitt, pacing around, eating all the time, but I'll probably watch this game, or I'll probably watch, I literally will probably watch StatCast for the first couple of innings because I can't bring myself to watch this. And I struggled to watch last night too. And I think I know why. So if you break down the performance of the Brewers and the performance of the Cubs, and you line up what the Brewers did and didn't do, and you line up what the Cubs did and didn't do, this game was actually close. Both sides, both teams played a pretty similar game. So there were Cubs hitters that had very bad nights. There were Brewers hitters that had very bad nights. There were pitchers that had very bad nights. Priester was bad. Mears was bad. And then in the case of the Cubs, Kittredge was bad, didn't really have it. Keller was actually really good in the 9th. Right, Tyone got himself into a little bit of a jam towards the end, but for the most part, he was very good. Put it this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pitchers for each side. I would say 4 of those pitchers were all very excellent. Chad Patrick was excellent. Grant Anderson, despite what you haters say, was really, really good last night. Koenig was meh. Quintana was great. Again, 4 out of the 6 pitchers on each team were pretty darn good. Both teams had scoring opportunities that they squandered. Both teams had scoring opportunities that they took advantage of. The Cubs did all of that damage in the first inning, and then the Brewers scoring in the 1st and the 4th and the 7th. My point is what we watched last night was a very competitive, very balanced, very close baseball game. And that's why I hated it. It's because it was stressful and it came down to the wire. And I have no interest in even the thought. I have no interest in even the concept of the Cubs coming back and winning this series. I can't process it. I can't deal with it. I won't hear it. I won't watch it or see it. And I certainly won't respond to it. I will be listening at the most, watching StatCast at the least. I will probably not turn on the television broadcast tonight. And I swear, if this game is tied or close going into the 4th, 5th, 6th, I might just not consume it at all. I might just check the final score at the end and then caught up what I missed because I can't deal with this. I am not cut out for this. If this was the Dodgers, it would be fine. Or if this was the Phillies, I don't think I'd care. I cannot stomach the concept of the Cubs winning tonight because then I know I'll have to stomach the concept of the Cubs winning Saturday, which will make me want to retire from this job and probably watching baseball forever, which is an unbelievable thought and a crazy idea, given that, like, well, if that Mets loss and that Devin Williams blown save last year didn't make me quit baseball, then simply nothing will. The 2025 Brewers and this postseason says, hold my beer and watch this. The Brewers up 2-0 on the Cubs. And now here comes Craig Counsell and Kyle Tucker, who's been ass for the last 2 months, and PCA, who's been mostly ass for the last 2 months. I mean, they have Michael Busch, and that's it. To the point where Brewers Twitter and Brewers fans are talking about, how do we clear the Busch spot? How do we get, like he's Barry Bonds? You know what I mean? I can't deal with this. Tyler and Mass says, how did Grant handle 2018? I didn't. I don't remember. I blacked all of it out. That's how I handled it. I watched the Rockies series, and then, like, the Dodgers series, I remember it was perfect, actually. Game 1 was the game that Woodruff cranked the homer off Kershaw, right? I was calling a high school football game. We were in the press box, and I would have to go back and look at what game it was. I can't remember. It wasn't in Alaska. The game wasn't at UWL. I wonder which game it would have been. Maybe it was out in Toma. But I remember I was with Drew Kelly, who's the voice of UWL football and high school football around Western Wisconsin on WKTY, our lacrosse affiliate. And I was doing color. I was pointing the camera. I was doing something. And I had the Brewers game on the phone, and it was propped up in the windowsill of the press box, and it was muted. And even that was like, I was mostly looking away and squinting. I couldn't deal. I couldn't handle. So when you ask how I made it through 2018, I occupied myself with other things. Except, of course, in Game 7, I was all in. I'm like, the Brewers are about to go to the World Series. And I remember me and my best friend at the time bought a 30 rack of Miller Lite and said, we are going to sit here and drink this entire thing throughout the course of the night and celebrate the Brewers going to the World Series. And then Yelich hit that early bomb, and we said, here we go. And then that was that. So that's how I got through 2018. I cannot deal with another game like last night. I hated last night, not necessarily because the Brewers lost, but because we watched a very close, well-fought, well-executed baseball game from both sides. And I'm not cut out for that. I can't handle that. I can't even sarcastically or negatively tweet my way through that. I have no interest in that. Here's a little bit more from Quinn Priester talking about the nerves, talking about his feeling. And remember, we listened to the pregame interview with Quinn Priester. Would it have been on Wednesday? I think it would have been Wednesday. It wouldn't have been last night because the game would have started last night. So it would have been on Wednesday. And he said, look, I got good butterflies. I got good jitters. I'm listening to him like, this seems like a guy with a great check on his emotions. He understands what he's going to feel, and he's ready to navigate it. Well, that didn't turn out to be the case. Quinn Priester asked about why he was so bad at locating his pitches.
You know, I think over the course of a year, you have good days, you have bad days. I think today was one of those bad days.
Yeah.
Going to learn from it for sure. You know, I think part of going out there and getting more experience major league level is going to be learning and continuing to develop as, as a major leaguer. And every time I've met failure, let's take it head on and move through it, move past it, learn from it. And so the next time my name's called, I'm going to be ready.
I'm bummed for Quinn Priester. And that's what Murphy said. You heard that comment in the intro. Like, I feel for him. I feel for the kid. It's not, so I feel for him on a human level, but also, like, these are sports teams. You know, how often have you turned into this show and I'm like, man, I just feel so bad for Christian Watson. You know, he's got to go home and try to sleep with himself after that drop. Like, yeah, they're humans. We all know they're humans. We're not really interacting with these players or people on a human level. We are watching them as, and it's cold, but we are watching them as assets that play for our favorite team. So it goes without saying that, yeah, I feel bad for the person. I mostly feel bad for myself, because I was really excited to watch Quinn Priester pitch. And maybe it was coping, or maybe I just convinced myself that last night was going to be a good spot for him. But I think I was right. I think last night was a good spot for him. This Cubs offense has not been good, and they haven't done the thing that Craig Counsell was so counsel-ish imploring them to do before game 3, which is string together good at bats, battle through every pitch, string together good, one at bat into the next. The Cubs haven't been able to do that. They haven't been able to do that really for the last 2 months. And Quinn Priester made it so it was very easy for them to do that. The one way I think the Cubs were going to score enough runs last night and really get off to that start was if Quinn Priester opened the door in that way, and he did. And I feel for Quinn on a human level. Yeah. I mostly feel for me because I was excited to watch him. I thought it was going to be the perfect spot. The wind blowing in, keep the ball down, let that defense play behind you. The Brewers chip away a little bit. Let's get out of here. Let's win in 3 games, and we never have to sweat a game 4. Certainly don't have to think about a game 5. We can get Cheerios hamstring some rest, and Freddie Peralta can start in the NLCS, and he doesn't even have to appear against the Cubs again, which he will be tonight at 8 o'clock. I feel bad for myself because I loved Priester in that spot, and we've gone from the point where I hated that trade so much when they made it. I said, my God, I know you need starting pitching, but a comp pick and cash and a player to be named later and whatever his name was, the prospect, I actually cared least of all about the prospect. I'm like, for this guy who couldn't hack it with the Pirates, he's withering away in the minor leagues with the Red Sox. I don't want this guy. And then, of course, he's great all year. And I'd really come to like this guy's starts because a lot of modern pitchers, whether it be bullpen relief pitchers or starting pitchers, it's so much about throwing 99 and just trying to blow guys away. Well, this Quinn Priester fella, he works left to right and he crosses his pitches and he works to initiate soft contact so he can eat lots of innings. I don't have to watch him work every count till full. I don't have to watch him struggle to put guys away because he pitches to contact. And yeah, he might give up a run or two, but he pitches. He doesn't just throw. And again, I thought last night was a good spot for him. And I think he had too many jitters. Quinn Priester asked, were you nervous before your start?
To be honest, I felt really in control. Just was a bad day. Need to find how to make the adjustment. I think you can say it, even when you're nervous, there's an adjustment to be made. When you're not feeling right, there's an adjustment to be made. When anything, there's an adjustment to be made. And I just didn't make that adjustment today. And like I said, that's entirely on me. And it's definitely a tough pill to swallow.
Interesting. Bill in Wanakee texts in says, Michael Bush to Brewers Twitter is what Joe Flacco is to Packers Twitter this week. Okay. Seems like a good spot to end this segment. We'll take a 3-minute break, come back. Your Brewers phone calls, reaction to game 3 last night, your early thoughts on game 4 tonight. It will be Freddie Peralta versus Matt Boyd, a rematch of game 1. To you next, 608-321-1670.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Zone Blitz pregame bash is back. Every Wisconsin home game 2 hours before kickoff at the Blue Moon Bar and Grill. And this year, do I have something special for you? It's a perfect snack for game day or any day. Wenzel's Farm Pro Snack Sticks. Come see me and I'll hand you 16 grams of protein to fuel you through the day. Wenzel's Farm offers that and so much more, crafted in small batches using premium cuts of meat, perfectly seasoned, and naturally hardwood smoked. Check out wenzelsfarm.com. Made by pros for pros.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Both teams come out firing. That's what it's about. They know us, we know them. There's a lot of emotion in the game, and it says something for both teams, really. Tonight, the Cubs got the best of it.
It's Pat Murphy talking about the early scoring in all three of these games. I think familiarity plays a role, for sure. Whereas two more uncommon opponents, they might come in, settle in, get a feel a little bit. And these two teams we've seen Freddie Peralta before. We've seen Quinn Priester before. We've seen Matt Boyd. We've seen Shota. I mean, these two teams know each other. It's an interesting point that I hadn't considered. We've talked about the familiarity thing, yes, but we hadn't necessarily talked about the impact of that it has in early scoring and early aggressive offenses. And that's been a theme throughout. Both teams have scored in the top and bottom of the first 3 games of the series. And that's pretty rare. I saw some. That doesn't happen since blah, blah, blah. But whatever. I don't care about past series. Kurt Hogue, Journal Sentinel, just got a text. Going to join us live from Wrigley Field in about 10 minutes. So excited to chat with Kurt. If they lose tonight, we're never having Kurt on the show ever again. If they win, I will drag him back on every game day until the Brewers lose, and then we'll never have him back again. So this is a means to an end with Kurt at some point, but he's at Wrigley. We'll check in with him in about 10 minutes. But this next segment reserved for your phone calls, 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this? Tom. What's going on, Tom?
How are you?
I'm fine. I wish there wasn't a Brewer Cubs game tonight, but I'll deal with that.
You know what? Anybody who thought that this was going to go out in 3, it was ridiculous to even think it. I think Freddie Peralta's got a 75% chance to win tonight. But look in the last 3, 4, 5 years, this goes down to the wire. Throughout the stats, throughout the hits, throughout the pitchers, it just seems to happen that this series is so even. It doesn't matter what the talent is; it just happens.
I don't know. Do you think the talent disparity is that great between these two teams? I think the Cubs maybe have more talent on paper, but I think the quality of these two baseball teams is pretty similar. And maybe that's why you thought it was going to go 5, or others thought this was going to go the distance, Tom.
Yeah, I still think it could, but I think there's a 75% Freddie ends it tonight, as long as he can stay ahead of the hitters and stuff. But you might as well watch the game because you're going to keep looking for the score anyway.
Yeah, I know. But for whatever reason, just checking the score, Tom, feels less painful. I appreciate it. It's like a horror movie, right? I could watch it with clear eyes, or I could turn my head and squint and put a hand up, and that makes it a little bit more tolerable. Guys, I'm not trying to be a baby. Have you ever heard me in the show started in 2017? 2018. How many years is that? A bunch. Have you ever heard in any part of the show being I don't think I can bring myself to watch? This is not me being I'm not a baby with this stuff. It's this matchup this year and the fact that the Brewers were up 2-0. I can't even deal with the idea that the Brewers don't eventually win this series. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
This is Hector, and I am in Alaska.
What's up, Hector?
So my sibling group, again, we're all adopted. So I have a Padres fan, 2 Padres fans, 2 Yankees fans, and then a Cubs fan.
Okay.
So this has been a very nice start to the sibling, bragging rights because, my team's doing the best so far. And then the Brewers just played with their heads in their literal rectums all night long.
Yeah.
The Cubs couldn't even find the ball in the first inning in the sunlight. So then now they got to go and be we better get the 808 game because the sun needs to be down. We should have got it done. They play whatever. And it was, yeah. I don't know if I'll watch tonight. I think I'm going to watch the Giants just decimate the Philadelphia Eagles instead, because I think that I might have a better feeling about that statement than us closing it out tonight. I don't know why.
I want something that won't terrify me. Yes, Hector, I understand that. And look, I wouldn't say the Brewers played like crap. I think both teams played a very competitive, good baseball game for the most part. Priester didn't have it, which impacted Mears a little bit. Tyone lost it a little bit towards the end. And then was it Kittredge or one of the other? Like, let's just put it this way. 80% of all of the at-bats and all of the pitches thrown last night were very good. It was the other 20% that led to the runs, and the Cubs had one or two more big pitches or big hits than the Brewers. Last night, the difference was Christian Yelich needed one more big swing of the bat, couldn't find it. Bryce Terang needed one big swing of the bat, couldn't find it. I'd say Jake Bauers with the bases loaded, but Jake Bauers had already powered that offense back. I'm just looking at exit velocities last night. I tweeted that Christian Yelich killed a lot of worms. Christian Yelich had a 108 mile per hour ground out and a 107 mile per hour ground out. Launch angle of -8, a -8, and 4 degrees. Like, he's just pounding the ball into the ground. Terang in that at bat in what I think amounted to be the 8th inning. I think that led to the bases getting loaded. Started with the Jackson Chourio double. Like, dude, I know Thielbar's a tough matchup for a lefty. He didn't even have a prayer. He didn't even get close. And he was given an extra strike because Carson Kelly just straight up forgot how to receive a baseball. The ump was like, I don't know what I just saw, but there was no way it was a strike, right? Well, yeah, it was right down the middle, but Carson Kelly had a conniption, seizure with his left arm. Bryce Terang at some point needed to deliver last night. Christian Yelich needed one more swing. They were just a swing or two away. And that was the difference in the game last night. It was a hard-fought game that was close between two great teams. And that's why I'm telling you, that's why I hated it. I'm not cut out for that. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant. It's Coyote Mike.
Hey, Coyote Mike.
Back
Talk
in
me off
Colorado.
the ledge. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Grant, what's up with that? I thought you had nerves of steel, man.
When have I ever? Wait, I've never given that impression before. What are you talking about?
You just seem to have it together. So I was kind of shocked there when you were saying, like, I'm not going to watch the game at all.
Well, they blew the doors off the Cubs in both of the first two games. It's easy to have it together then. Yeah. That's easy.
Yeah. But last night I was confident all the way up to the end that they were going to get the big hit. And you could tell the Cubs fans and the Cubs themselves were just waiting for the Brewers to break it open, but it just didn't happen. So tonight I'm not going, I'm like, but I kind of compartmentalized that fear and just not going to go there, to see if the Cubs win tonight. I'm just not even.
Yeah.
But Nathan Murphy, I don't understand why he was having a what's his name? Lockridge. Yeah. Why?
I mean, he put together a good at bat early. He had a 13 pitch at bat early on.
Yeah.
I just don't think Perkins is as an offensive option. I think you're flipping a coin. Like Blake Perkins and Brandon Lockridge are both about as equally as likely to give you something on offense. I didn't really.
But to bunt, and then you had Joey Ortiz coming up after him. So even if you did advance the runners, chances are, Ortiz, is he going to get in a RBI single? Who knows? But
did he hit a ground ball or what? I don't even remember. I got to look that up. Keep going. I got to dig something up while you talk.
So I'm just scratching my head a little bit on that one, and I didn't hear what he said after post game. But I think Murphy has got it together. He'll figure it out. And the team, they always seem to bounce back after a bad outing, and that's the way. But we'll just have to see how the first inning or two is going to be key, because everybody, I guess, who's scored first has ended up losing.
Isn't that interesting? So, well, yeah, it's been the home team, right? It's been the second team to come around to get an at bat. Coyote Mike, your phone connection is just good enough. We were able to get enough out of you there. I appreciate the call. That fourth inning went Contreras strikeout, Frelick single, Durbin single, Bauers single, bases loaded. Lockridge bunted to first. Durbin had a shot to dive at home plate. And it's hard for him to know that because he can't see Shaw behind him. So that was my first impression watching. It's what Murph said after the game, too. I saw Jack Stern tweet about it, too, so I feel like I'm not just being a dumb fan. I can kind of be in the right there. I just, man. Coyote Mike, you're right. Like with Ortiz coming up next, I mean, what are you setting the table for? The thing is, they were trying to get him home. They were trying to score him. They weren't just sacrificing him over. So that either needs to be a suicide, or Durbin needs to read it better, or he needs to make a play for home. It was kind of the worst of all worlds. A lot of things needed to go wrong on that play, or more things needed to go right, and I feel like none of them did. Kurt Hogue, the Journal Sentinel, going to join us next. He's live down at Wrigley Field. If the Brewers win tonight, this will be Kurt's last appearance ever on the show, so savor it. He will join us next on the other side.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
We had some great pitching performances tonight too. Quintana gave us 3+, and the job Patrick did, the job Anderson did, to give us a chance. I thought those three guys in particular were outstanding, and to shut the Cubs down for 8 innings in their home park with what an electric environment for them.
It's Pat Murphy after last night's game. I agree. Other than the Quinn Priester inning, pitching was very good. I think both teams played about identical games last night. The difference is all of the bad pitching for the Brewers was relegated to one pitcher in 1 inning. And the Cubs had 2 or 3 guys who made a bad pitch here and there, the Brewers chipping back. And the difference was the Brewers needed one more swing from Yelich, one more swing from Bryce Terang, who had a couple of opportunities, and then they come up just short. It was a very competitive baseball game, which is, for the most part, why I think I absolutely hated the experience. Kurt Hogue is joining us, the Journal Sentinel, live down at Wrigley. What was your takeaway from last night before we get into what's going on tonight?
It's getting dicey, Grant. That's my takeaway.
It feels dicey. Oh, did we lose Kurt? It feels very dicey, and that's the way that Brewers fans at large feel as well. If that's your actual takeaway, it does feel very dicey. Oh no, did we lose Kurt? He's frozen on the screen. God, I hope he's able to reconnect and tell us. No, of course I'm kidding. It's not actually getting dicey. Oh no. Now I think we have him back. Kurt, when you say it's getting dicey, I hope that's humor, because I need someone to tell me that it's not getting dicey.
Yep, that's what I was doing, Grant. Also, Blaine, I'm walking through Wrigley right now. We're doing a walk and talk. I'm in the shadows currently. I'm in the sun. That's why you lost me. It's
okay.
It's the building. It's the building's fault.
I see. What was your takeaway from last night before we talk about tonight?
No, I think it is getting dicey. But the other takeaway too is that the Brewers have still been the better team in every single facet in this series. I don't know if they were the better team last night, but neither team, like the Cubs were asking them to lose that game. And maybe that ultimately doesn't matter because they only have to win 2 more, but they still got to win 2 more. And so I think that there's a little solace in that if you are a fan of the Milwaukee Brewers, as you are, famously. Now I'm like half, you see this? I'm like half in the sun, half in the shadows.
You got what did you see from Bryce Terang in a couple of at-bats? Because he was legit one of their most important offensive players down the stretch. They need a big hit or 2 from him maybe to seal this series, and they just couldn't get it last night.
Yeah, that Thielbar matchup was not...
That's brutal.
It's not a good one for lefties, and it was definitely not a good one for him. He just was like caught out too front too early, and the front side was flying open, and Thielbar and Carson Kelly, I think, also gets a lot of credit too. I'm turning into Pat Murphy here, crediting the catcher for his sequencing, but right. I thought they sequenced really well in some key spots last night between that and the Bowers at bat when it seemed like Keller might be coming in and he was off the rails, but they solved a couple things with the sequencing. So yeah, Terang's going to be one of their more important bats tonight, the rest of the series, the rest of the way. If they're not hitting home runs like we've talked about time and time again, they kind of need to string hits together. And Terang's one of the guys that can hit home runs, but also where he's hitting the lineup, he's got to be able to string hits together too. So they were aggressive against Boyd in game 1 early. We'll see how he adapts and how the Brewers adapt as well.
This has been a series in which every team has scored in the first inning. Pat Murphy chalking that up to familiarity between 2 teams. Is that how you see it as well?
I see it as weirdness. It's just in a very, very weird series in terms of the first innings have been completely off the rails, and then the entire game settles down from there. That's probably, if you're looking at the keys for Freddie Peralta tonight, it's keeping them off the board early, the first inning, the second inning, not letting Michael Busch ambush you like he's done twice in this series. Because the Brewers have their whole bullpen available. They'll have it available in Game 5. So, like, you look at that, and they have the pitching advantage on paper. So keep them off the board early. You don't need 6 innings from them. You just need a little bit. You just need a little bit. Maybe 4, maybe 5, keep you in the game, and then turn it over to the bullpen. That's been really good. But, yeah, the first innings, it's just so weird. I mean, we're having infield pop-ups. Not even drop. They just fall. No one dropped it. It just landed. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen in, like, varsity baseball. Well, at Brown Deer High School, maybe it did. But
Nico Horner booted a ground ball. He's probably going to win a Gold Glove or could win a Gold Glove.
The Cubs have had at least one weird defensive play in every game of this series. And we came into the series talking about how great their defense was and how hard it was going to make things for the Brewers. And whoops.
So you've watched countless starts from Freddie Peralta. What have you seen or what do you look for from Freddie pregame and then when he first takes the mound to start games? What should we be looking for tonight?
I think, one, you're going to want to see how the guys are, like, what swings are they putting on the fastballs? 2, how quickly is he adjusting off that? 3, how is he locating the fastball and the changeup? Those are the 3 things that I'm going to be looking for with him because he'll probably come out trying to establish the fastball again. That's what he does. Although Michael Busch took him deep on the fastball last game. So that's it. It doesn't. The thing is, it doesn't all start and stop with him with the fastball, but it all starts there, if that makes sense. And obviously, we all know he can get into the bouts of like turning an 0-2 count into a 3-2 count, and frankly, that just can't happen like at all tonight. You cannot have that happen against this offense in this environment, because the energy in here last night, Grant, was interesting.
I feel like it started tepid and then Priester gave them the opportunity to fire up.
Like PCA came to the plate still in that spot in the first, and there was, it's the lower bowl. I think maybe a half the fans were standing, but I looked around the upper deck and like a little noise was being made, but they weren't on their feet with bases loaded and 2 outs, and it was like they feel this is a lot of nervous energy, and then that inning, that hit, really changed the whole complexion of the game and the energy in the crowd as well. So that's something that's going to be important for Freddie tonight, is controlling his emotions, controlling the energy in the building, because he's got a chance to do something special and shut a whole crowd up.
Well, this isn't an offense that wants to string long at bats together, right? Like they've shown the end of the season, and then so far in the series, like they want to go up there and hack, but if you start giving them full counts and letting them feel that's where the door is open, and that's what Priester did last night, right?
Yeah, the Cubs, you mean, right?
Yeah, the Cubs. Yep.
Yeah, I guess it differs from hitter to hitter. Yeah, but like Nico Horner's up there to swing at pitches in the zone. PCA's up there to swing at pitches in any zone, any area code. So it has to be. You got to find the right balance, right, of competitive pitches, but not the type of pitches Priester was putting over the plate last night. And look, the whole pitching staff, with the exception of Ashby in the first inning and Priester in the first inning, they've done that. They have done that. You just can't have that happen again tonight. No blowups.
Do you think, lastly, Perkins is back in center? Lockridge, what would you expect with the lineup?
Yeah, lefty on the mound. They'll go Freddie pitching too. They'll go Perkins. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We look forward to that and your coverage, Kurt. Appreciate you checking in. Sorry for the sun and the shadows. I know that can be very confusing, but you pushed through.
Hey, look, both dugouts appear to be in the shade right now, so we're all good. Let's play ball.
Got music playing? What's playing? Takes out his earbud.
Bad Bunny. Oh, hey, there's Craig. You want me to say hi?
I know you have journalism to do. You go.
Grant says hi.
Thank you, Kurt.
Grant Bills.
Enjoy the game.
See
Have
ya.
a good one, Kurt. Kurt Hogue, the Journal Sentinel. Go do journalism things. All right. Well, as long as Freddie throws fast. All right, great. Okay. So now I feel ready. As long as Freddie doesn't go 3-2 every bat, well, we're fine. Not a chance Freddie will do that. Feel great. We'll take a break a little bit earlier here, so we'll have a full 10 or 12 minutes on the other side of this break to get back to your Brewers phone calls if you would like to join me. 608-321-1670.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
I think the Brewers can go in and win tonight, but what they need to do that is they need Freddie Peralta to go out there and be that ace and avoid nibbling, avoid putting them in an early hole, avoid putting a bunch of traffic on base. He's got to go out and be dominant tonight. And honestly, I don't know if Freddie is capable of that. You know, rarely do we see him pitch a clean game. He does it every couple of starts. But he's a guy that if he starts to get into trouble, he starts nibbling, he starts dancing around the zone, he starts walking guys, and that's the danger because, you know, whether Freddie is really good or not, he's always going to give up home runs, right? That's just the nature of being a fastball-heavy strikeout pitcher. Home runs are going to happen. The problem is when Freddie puts guys on ahead of those home runs. So that's what you need to see tonight. If Freddie goes out there and is dealing, then I think they have a pretty good shot.
That's Andrew Wagner on Bill's show earlier today, and it's funny because that interview started. Bill says, Andrew, I feel great about tonight. I think they're going to be popping champagne. What do you think? And Andrew goes, I don't know. I think it's going 5. I've always thought it's going to go 5. And you got Freddie on the hill, but he'll need to throw strikes. And, you know, how often can we actually count on him to do that? It's like, I don't know. I don't know if this is supposed to make me feel any better, Andrew. Thank you. That's the funny part about the breakdown of this game and the lead into this game. It's like, well, as long as Freddie can throw strikes, the Brewers will probably win. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that is that. And maybe that's why I'm so uncomfortable. I'm just uncomfortable with all of this. I'm either going to listen to the radio broadcast or just watch the StatCast visualizer. I can't bring myself to, it's like a horror movie. I need to squint. I need to put my hand. I can't deal with this. And I'm not some little baby. But when it's Cubs Brewers and they were up 2-0 and it's Craig Counsell, I cannot fathom a game 5, and I certainly can't fathom the Cubs winning back and winning. I can't live in that world. I won't live in that world, in fact. 608-321-1670. More of your Brewers calls. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant, Jeremy, how are you?
Hey, Jerry, I'm doing good. I'm
good,
hanging in there.
Man. Well, I'm sorry that I jumped in late to the show today, so I didn't get to hear your lead in. I missed that because I always love to hear your takes early on. But I'm here to call you and just put your mind at ease, walk you off the ledge a little bit, like you said earlier.
Okay.
The Brewers are going to take care of business tonight. I think they're going to play with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder after last night. I think the hitters are going to be, they're going to be playing ready to go.
I mean, I hope so.
So last night's game, if you're asking me about last night's game, man, like there's so many things to take away from it, but the big one that really just irked me, and I mean, Terang, I wanted more from him too. I'll say that right up front. But Ortiz, man, like he had the opportunities there. What was it, the 8th inning?
No, you're telling me, Jeremy, that Joey Ortiz was at the plate with guys on base? I can't remember his line. Let me pull it up. But yeah, he had what was that, in the 4th or the 5th after that, the failed bunt? Yeah, Joey Ortiz had an opportunity, at least one.
Yeah, well, and then wasn't it the 8th inning though that what was it, Contreras? He drew the walk.
Yeah, Ortiz only had 2 at bats. He was pulled for Monasterio later. I can't remember what his other at bat was.
So it was one of I remember it specifically because the hitter in front of him drew the walk, and I'm like, okay, that's great. We got 2 outs, bases loaded for Ortiz, and all I could remember saying was I was looking at my radio and I said, Ortiz, if you ever wanted to change the narrative about you right now, this is your moment. This is it. Just do it. And you didn't.
And I need to,
here we go.
And I need to pull up his postseason stats. Jeremy, I appreciate it, because just off the dome, I feel like he's been okay. It's such a small sample, right? But what am I looking at? Splits here. I shouldn't do this on the fly. I'm going to look it up over our next break because I feel like he's had a walk and a single. Honestly, if you can get a walk or a single from Joey Ortiz in every game, that's enough for me as a 9-hitter, right? I look more at Yelich as a guy who can't have 2 ground balls hit at 109 and 108. Like I can't have that. I need a little bit more. I know he had a double last night, but I need a hit from Terang. I need things from other guys. I'm not going to walk away from a close game thinking they lost because Joey Ortiz couldn't get it done. And I'd like some more from him. Don't get me wrong. I'd love for him to come through in that spot, but it's just hard for me to put it on Ortiz when I think, at least in those first 2 games, he did his job as a 9-hitter, which is grading on a curve, of course, but it's a 9-hitter curve, and that's what he is. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Alex and Madison.
Hey, what's going on, Alex?
Hey, the way that I watch sports is with a lot of, bright side optimism type thing. So I'm gonna pitch that to you because you sound a little bit worried.
Okay.
Would I be correct in that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I mean, we all can agree that first inning was a disaster. And we were like, this is like a leaky faucet. Are we ever gonna shut this valve off? If I remember correctly, that was all of the Cubs offense in that first inning. And yes, we left guys stranded. We absolutely did. But with the adversity that was that first inning and the pitchers that we went through, to be able to be within 1 run of tying it and have an opportunity in the 8th, it's making me feel pretty good about tonight.
So I'm with you in that all of their offenses in the first inning. Alex, I appreciate it. The thing is, again, the logic that I'm being thrown here is that if Freddie Peralta just throws strikes, we'll be good. And as long as they can keep him off the board in the first inning, they'll be good. Correct. But Freddie Peralta isn't always good at throwing strikes. And he's not usually perfect in the first inning. So that I understand the path to victory is there. And look, I don't know who I'd pick. The point of the show and what I'm saying so far is not the Brewers are screwed, the Brewers are screwed, the Brewers are screwed, they're not going to win. I'm just so petrified at the idea of them not winning, I don't want to deal with it. if you ask me to pick this game, I'd probably pick the Brewers. That's kind of secondary to the point. That's beside the point. The angle of optimism is, well, Freddie Peralta just needs to throw strikes. Sure. It's not always what he's best at. And the Brewers just need to keep the Cubs off the board in the first inning. Mm-hmm. That has proven difficult and has often been proven difficult for Freddie Peralta. I guess that's my concern. Here's Craig Counsell last night after their win and how his team responded. I haven't actually heard this yet.
It's fun and stressful in the same sentence and the same light, and I think you feel both.
Reminds me of when Drake said love is just jealousy and hate at the same time. No, what did he say? Jealousy is just love and hate at the same time. Equally as poetic as Craig Counsell. So I don't know why I felt the need to add that. I'm a jackass.
Emotions a lot, but you're planning to play tomorrow, and that can't help but give you something else, right? It has to. And I thought we played with that urgency, especially in the first. We just did a great job in the first inning. We had really good at bats. I thought, the Michael Homer, yes.
So let me pause it there because I talked about this earlier on in our first segment. The first inning was exactly what Craig Counsell was saying that his offense needed to do. String together long at bats, see a lot of pitches, work counts. Yes, yes, yes. They did that in the first inning. My frustration is that Quinn Priester kind of allowed them to do that. And what I told Kurt is that's not really what the Cubs offense is good at. They're not good at stringing pitch after pitch after pitch, and they're not good at passing the baton from one hitter to the next. It's not their strong suit. But if you start walking a lot of guys, well, then hitters get a little bit more selective and they start to lean in, and then the home crowd buys in and it snowballs. So the Cubs doing what they did in the first inning last night was a correction or an improvement in their process for sure, as you just heard Craig mention. But it was also invited. It was encouraged even by Quinn Priester in the way he threw.
Great. Nico getting on base right away again. It's not going to be a one-run inning. You're going to have a tough inning again. And I thought, we did that really, really well. And it makes a difference. Every run is so hard to come by. And so we put together that really beautiful inning, and you have to play like that. You kind of pull out all the stops, and you, if that gives you an advantage, you try to take advantage. You try to use it as much as you can.
So he's basically saying there at the end, the Brewers gave them an advantage. They used it as much as they can. What was the first inning? Or the first comment?
It's fun and stressful in the same sentence.
It's fun and stressful. What I was trying to say, the reference I was trying to make, is jealousy is just love and hate at the same time. Of course, a great philosopher said that. Philosopher on the same level as Craig Counsell, Drake. God, I love that song. I was listening to Take Care this last weekend. And that's probably what I'll do. That's probably what I'll do in between innings tonight. I will listen to this game on the radio, or I will watch on StatCast. Maybe a little bit of both, because I like the information. I've been around my family, or friends during Brewer games. It's like, I need to work. But really, when I say I need to work during a Brewer game, all I do is watch the Brewer game and then have StatCast on in front of me so I can bitch about the exit velocities and launch angles when Christian Yelich pounds one into the sand. That's what I say when I mean work. So tonight, I will probably be radioing it. I can't watch this game because I can't deal with – I just can't deal with the idea that the Brewers don't win this series. So when they win this series, look, I'll be a hockey prick. But until then, I am sitting on pins and needles over here. More of your Brewers phone calls to start the next hour. We also have a little bit of audio from Micah Parsons. So if I feel like everyone has said their piece on the Brewers, we might dip into that. And then Mike Clemens is going to be here at 5:35 with the latest in Green Bay as we get ready for the Bengals and the Packers to return to action this weekend. First, 2-minute update. Zach Heilprin, just the latest in Wisconsin sports. No commercials. No need to go anywhere.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Brandon McManus does not have the same concern level as his coach does over a quad injury that left him limited at practice today. Packers kicker got injured yesterday. Explained today what happened.
I was warming up. I had kickoffs earlier in the day, and then I was warming up for field goals. I kind of felt a tug against my quad. I gave it a couple minutes, tried again. I just shut it down for the day. I didn't want to make it worse.
Earlier today, Coach Matt LaFleur said he had major concern about whether McManus would be available this week against Cincinnati. McManus said he plans to play.
He didn't speak to me about that, so he has his own thesaurus encyclopedia to describe injuries.
McManus told reporters he had a similar injury in 2022, but ended up playing, hitting a pair of 50-yard field goals. Meanwhile, it was a third straight practice for offensive linemen Zach Tom and Aaron Banks. Same goes for wide receiver Christian Watson. However, left tackle Rasheed Walker did not practice due to an injury. Green Bay back out there tomorrow for one more practice before Sunday's game against the Bengals. Turning to the Badgers, they will host Iowa on Saturday night at Camp Randall Stadium. Hawkeyes have won 3 straight in the series, 4 of the last 5. Badgers have not beaten a Power 4 team in almost a year. Kick is at 6.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
When a company only does business in Wisconsin, that's Wisconsin Strong. Rural Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums stay right here to keep Wisconsin strong. Local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Brewers will once again look to end the Cubs season tonight. Game 4 of the NLDS. Freddie Peralta will go on short rest for Milwaukee, while Chicago rolls with Matthew Boyd on short rest. First pitch down at Wrigley is set for 8:08. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil-Print.
Very frustrated. Very frustrated with that first inning, the only inning. Command wasn't good. Stuff wasn't coming out the way I'd wanted it to, and ultimately it falls onto me to make an adjustment. It's going to be different every day. You're going to have different circumstances to have to work with and battle through, and it's up to pitcher make an adjustment to get us at least give us a chance, get the ball in play. And didn't do that today. Didn't give us a chance, and everyone else played real well with the exception of myself. So definitely feel like that's entirely on me.
I think the moment got to him a little bit. It's his first postseason appearance and a long layoff. It's in his hometown. Yeah, I feel for him because that's not typically how he's done this year. It was the difference in the game.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
Couple of text here as we begin hour number 2. I'll take more of your Brewers coded phone calls, whether it be reaction to last night's game, thoughts on tonight's upcoming game. Tim in Prairie du Chien says, I can't watch or listen to the series. I watched or listened to all 162, but watching the series might cause me to stroke out. I wish I was joking, but I'm not. Yeah, I can't. I can't do it. I wish I could. I can't. I will listen tonight or watch the simulcast or the visualizer on StatCast. Johnny Driftless says, I don't think we can beat the Phillies or Dodgers if Terang does not start to hit. Most seem to be back from their late summer form, but he has looked like 23 Terang. I don't know. He roped a pretty good double in game 1. I don't know if he's done anything since then. He didn't really need to do much in game 2. Last night it was frustrating because he had a couple of opportunities. The thing is, look, in these playoff games, in these types of matchups, you're only seeing your opponent's best. It's best on best all of the time, especially in a game state like that. Like, it was close and the Cubs are facing elimination. So there might be instances in game 1 or game 2 when a game is out of reach, when you're going to see lesser relievers, which is funny because those guys have actually fared pretty well against the Brewers. Savali and Ray, both former Brewers, funny enough, looked pretty good. I also think that the Brewers offense maybe took their foot off the gas a little bit. It's just easier to pitch in that type of situation after the game has kind of been blown open. But Terang facing, not Soroka, almost Soroka, although Soroka as a lefty would be a tough matchup too, but Caleb Thielbar, that's a nightmare matchup. And he was off balance early in the at-bat and just never really got back together. So against Boyd tonight, maybe I'd feel a little bit better. But yeah, Terang, Yelich, take your pick of a couple players last night. In a game like that, you're just one big swing away, and they just couldn't find it last night. But it came down to the wire, and they certainly had plenty of opportunities. Rick from Spencer said, Grant, it was great to see you on the squad. However, you seem disinterested looking at your phone rather than the camera. Hope you get to do it again soon. Yeah, the Locked On Packers squad show was fun. I was actually looking at my computer. I had my laptop down here, so I was not on my phone. That would be rude. I was on my laptop. Maybe it looked rude, but I was listening. I was working on something that was really mindless in the background that I needed to get done. So the squad show was fun, though, with Brandon Snide and Jason Hirschhorn. And Peter, yeah, it was fun. We did an hour last night. It was a good time. Your Brewers phone calls. Right back to you at 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
I dropped the plot. I thought you said we were talking Packers at 5. I'm too
If
early.
you'd like to, you
Too
can.
early.
No. You're the only caller on hold. So if nobody else has any Brewers things to say, we just did a full hour. We can talk Packers, Vagabond John.
Well, I am excited about the Brewers. I know I called in around preseason time and said, wow, it's awesome that baseball season ended, but baseball season officially started earlier this week when the Brewers got their first playoff win. So looking forward to that game. We're going to be locked in while also playing softball. You're going to have like 3 phones, hung up on the fence using your pop socket or whatever, and we're going to be very distracted. It's going to be fun.
So Thursday night football, hockey. You can have hockey on. Please don't tell me you have hockey on.
No. We've got Thursday night football and probably 2 on the Brewers.
Okay.
So
We'll
have it locked and loaded.
That's good.
But how you're thinking about this baseball game and how you can't fathom just thinking about, if the the worst happens, right, this week and into this weekend. If the worst happens next week, is going to be tough, I think, for Brewers fans. Grant, that's how I'm feeling about this Packers football game, because I couldn't imagine being a Packer beat reporter or podcaster who was claiming, and doing all these sarcastic tweets about our defensive coordinator, how bad he is, because, oh man, we want to hide him from the rest of the league. Could you imagine if he came around and lost a 40-year-old Joe Flacco twice in like 3 weeks?
Well,
like that'd be tough.
So I get your angle. I hardly think that it was his defense that lost that game in Cleveland. I will say there's a lot of commentary, and Bill's been saying things, and Ryan Wood, who I recorded with earlier today, you're going to hear that tomorrow. The Packers need to blow out the Bengals. If you don't blow out the Bengals, then you're screwed. Now, I think they should beat the Bengals pretty good. Vagabond John, I feel like it's so difficult to watch and consume the NFL through the lens of you need to blow somebody out. Because I know the Lions do it, and I know some teams do it consistently. I just think it's really difficult to measure a team by that standard because it's hard to do in the NFL. And now they have a new quarterback, which will give them a bump, even though I don't think Joe Flacco's any good. I just think you get yourself into trouble when you go into a game saying only a blowout will satisfy me. And then you have to like reverse engineer your take from that, that take going in. I don't like that.
I really don't understand it at all. And
okay, I figured you'd be on the same page with me here.
Yeah, and I don't understand it from the lens of the Bengals. Grant, is Trey Hendrickson playing?
Correct. Yes, he is.
Is Jamar Chase playing?
T. Higgins as well.
T. Higgins playing?
Mm-hmm.
Is Chase Brown playing? I mean, who the hell does Bill think we're talking about here? The Giants, right? Name one star player now that Malik Neighbors is down. I guess they got a couple of young defenders, right? Or like the Saints, like name one player there. The Bengals got a lot of loaded talent. And you're telling me you got Joe Flacco, veteran, coming in. They're going to run a watered down, dumbed down offense, right? 1 or 2 reads. They're not going to be – Joe Flacco's not going to be holding on to the ball, right? That dude knows how to get rid of the rock. And so I think, this is if they think we're supposed to go in and blow out a team with, 5 or 6 guys in the NFL top 100 – and yeah, there's no Joe Burrow there to
5 or 6
all,
is a lot. Really, it's more like 3. And 3 players is not a football team. I get what you're saying. And Vagabond John, don't you think the Packers should win and they should look good and they should really look to have buttoned up some things that in the past they haven't? Like, we do expect that. Again, I just think it's difficult to say, man, if you don't, there'll be hell to pay. Well, I could see this game going lots of different ways with the Packers winning, but winning by 10. And then, I don't know. Then we have to react next week from the basis of anything other than a blowout is unacceptable. And I just think that's a tough spot to be.
I don't know how you watched the Browns game a couple of weeks ago and think that this Packers team should blow out anybody. Do I think they should beat the Bengals? Yeah, I think we've got a Super Bowl roster, right? But I also acknowledge that we've got a tremendous amount of guys just popping up on this injury report, specifically in the trenches. And when you're talking about Chase Brown on offense, you're talking about Trey Hendrickson on defense, you have at least 1 or 2 playmakers at the positions that you are losing guys at. And these defenders, right, these corners are going to be tested by what still is one of the best receiving corps in the National Football League. So I think it's a sneaky good matchup. I'm really excited for the game. Trey Hendrickson versus Micah Parsons, 2 names that we talked a lot about in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
I think Joe Flacco is just fun to watch in general, despite being 40 and also a statue. So I'm looking forward to it.
What do you think? Pick the result. If you had to bet on a specific result, because what I'm not going to let you do is Tony in Texas thing and say, I don't know. And then no, do you think this will be a close game? What would you actually predict?
I think the Packers lose. If I'm being honest,
sure.
I think the reason is hammering on this desk all season long. It's different when you're going against an offense that has 3 receivers out in a route that you really got to worry about. And I don't think the Pack, I was going to say with Wisconsin, Lord knows Wisconsin doesn't have the corners to match up with the Bengals. But I don't think the Packers have the secondary to match up with a dumbed-down offense. They're making 1 or 2 quick reads, and I think Joe Flacco's going to move the ball. So unless Jordan Love really gets it going and the offense keeps it up, I think we're going to see the Bengals score some points. So that's my prediction.
No. Your prediction was the Packers lose.
31-24 Bengals.
Okay, I would be floored if that's the result. But I wanted to get you on the record because what I don't like is when people call in and say, "Well, I don't know, everyone's saying this, but I think it's maybe that." Like I want you to make an actual prediction. Normally I don't give a rip about your predictions, and you shouldn't give a rip about mine. But what I don't like is somebody coming in here and throwing a contradictory takeout and then not standing on it. So then if it works out, you can come around in a couple of days and say I was right. Okay, so you are picking the Bengals, Vagabond John. I would not do that. I think the Packers will win, and I think it should be comfortable. But does that mean, 10 points? Everybody seems to think they should run them out of the building by 20 points. And look, if the Packers execute and play really well, I think they're more than capable. This Packers team is just not shown to be a team that smashes tomato cans. The Lions can do that. And the Cowboys at the end with Dak and with McCarthy could do that. The Packers have not shown to be able to do that yet. I hope this weekend is the first example this season that they can do that. Vagabond John, I think it's a little bit of a stretch to say, well, I don't know. It's hard to blow teams out in the NFL to get to the point where you're saying, where it's like, I don't know. They have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Chase Brown and Joe Flacco, who knows how to get rid of the ball. You know what? This will be a good test for Jeff Hafley because the Bengals are going to try to do the exact same thing the Cowboys did 2 weeks ago. They're going to want to get the ball out like that. And for the most part, the Packers defense let them do that in that game because their coverage was kind of giving up things underneath. I would expect Jeff Hafley and the Packers defense to have some sort of a response to that. And if those easy, quick outlets aren't there right away, well, now all of a sudden against that horrible O-line, Micah Parsons, Rashawn Gary, all those players have opportunities. So that's maybe the most interesting wrinkle that I'm looking for is how does Jeff Hafley and that Packers defense adjust and improve on what happened 2 weeks ago? Because I imagine the Bengals will try to do the exact same thing, or at least they should, because that's really the only thing they can do. They can't come in with a game plan of like, actually, we're going to run deep routes and we're going to hold up protection for a long time, because I truly don't think they're capable of doing that. So doing anything and trying to do anything other than what the Cowboys did 2 weeks ago, I think would just be dumb. And Hafley and the Packers defense should know that, and I'm interested to see how they respond. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Eric on I-90.
Hey, Eric. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm here to put your mind to rest.
On the Brewers? Okay.
Yeah, they're going to lose tonight. They're going to lose tonight.
That's supposed to make me feel better.
I just put in your mind to rest. You can just listen, and I put my algebraic equation to it. In baseball, you are only good 30% of the time.
Okay.
All right? Okay. That leaves sucking 70% of the time. Now, if the Brewers lose tonight, they'll suck 50% of the time, and the Cubs suck 50% of the time. That leaves the better team to not suck 70% of the time.
So it's just a math equation.
The Brewers win at home because of the energy of Milwaukee County Stadium, which is not the correct name of that place, but that's what I'm going to call it.
That's fine. I think elimination games can get a little weird at home. I think the crowd can maybe be a little bit more tight. It's easy to be riled up in game 1. I think game 5 or game 7 gets a little... Man,
you're putting too much emotional currency into this thing, all right?
Would you like me to put more high-octane analysis? Because I don't know that I have any.
Just watch the game tonight and suffer through it, and then everything's going to look better here in a couple of days. And the Pack's going to win. I don't know how much they're going to win by, but I've seen the Bengals.
I'm going to the district, by the way. Do you want to watch, if this goes to game 5, do you want to watch the game at Snowflake or something on Saturday? You going to be in the district?
I am going to be, I might be around there, so maybe I'll swing down.
Actually, yes.
Maybe
we'll talk. We'll talk. Eric on I-90, everyone. I like his take. Let me put your mind at ease. They're going to lose. Now you don't have to worry about it. Back to what Kurt Hogue said, and Eric was kind of in his own unique Eric on I-90 way saying that. The Brewers have been much better. They've been the better team throughout the majority of this series and the majority of the last couple of months. So that should play out over the course of game 1, game 2, game 3, game 4 tonight, and if needed, game 5 on Saturday. It's just a little, it's getting a little too close for comfort. I don't enjoy this. If this was the Dodgers or the Phillies, I'd be psyched up for tonight. It's not. It's the Cubs and it's Craig Counsell. And I can't live in a world where they blow a 2-0 lead to that team and to that manager in this series. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, it's Darnell the Chump.
Hey, Darnell. What are you thinking?
Hey, I actually have a little Packers take here. Last week, the Bengals went up against the Lions, and the Lions kind of shut down the short passing game that they wanted Browning to do until they got a little greedy at the end, or I guess in the second half when they already had kind of a big lead, and then Jamar Chase was able to beat them for a couple of big plays down the field when it was pretty much already out of hand, right? Yeah. But I think that's what the Packers need to do, where they need to have their safeties and linebackers play up on those short routes and cut off any quick stuff, because that's all Joe will be doing with 1 week in the offense.
Well,
right?
that's what they needed to do better against the Cowboys. That's the measuring stick. That's the game that you work from, right?
Right. But then taking it even further where Joe Flacco's a statue, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to be able to get out of the pocket. So as long as you suffocate the receivers, which is a tall task when it's T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, but as long as you've got, those short and maybe shorter intermediate routes covered, they're not going to be able to beat you deep. And if they beat you one time during the game deep, then they beat you one time. But I don't want to do death by 1,000 cuts against a Bengals team that should get blown out, right?
Yeah.
That would kill me as a Packers fan if that's the way that the game went and it ended up being a 3-point victory.
I don't want to live in that world next week. I don't want to do a week of shows talking about how the Packers lost to the Bengals or look crappy against the Bengals. I'm not interested in that. That does nothing for me. I will not enjoy. I will passively make my way through next week because that won't make it move for me. That's not interesting,
Yeah.
And it is interesting, I guess, on some level, but not my kind of interesting.
To further put your mind at ease, I think that it's going to be a blowout tonight in favor of the Brewers. I think that they kind of got, they got a little taste of their own medicine yesterday, and I think that they're going to come out with a lot of fire tonight. And I don't think this is going to be a close one after the 4th inning or 5th inning. So
look, that would be my dream. That would be my dream, right, Darnell, is that the Brewers come out tonight and they look mad that they even have to play another game, and they've been the better team, and they're ready to show it, and they string at bats together, and they do the Brewers thing on offense, and they chase Boyd early, and they mow through that. Yes, that'd make me happy. Then I'll turn the game on in the 5th. Well, I probably won't, because then I'll be superstitious and say, well, I just won't watch the rest of it. I'll stay dialed in. But I hope so. I'm just not having a good time. And I didn't really have that good of a time in game 1 or game 2 either. I watched the first 2 innings on Saturday and then had to go to a wedding. Didn't see any of the rest of it. Game 2, I listened to the first little bit when I was working out because I can't sit still. And Vaughn's home run was sweet, and Churio's home run was sweet, but the rest of the game, I was mostly really uncomfortable. I didn't enjoy yesterday for a second. Not for a split second did I have any fun watching that game, even when they took the lead. And I guess I'm not complaining to you. I'm not whining to you. I'm just telling you how I feel. This is my take at this moment in time. Mike Clemens is going to be here at 5:35, but we do have a couple of extra minutes on the other side of this break. If you have a Packers take or a Brewers take, if we get no more calls, I'll probably just kind of further explain why I'm a little hesitant to say some of the things about Packers-Bengals that a lot of other people have been saying.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
I think the Brewers can go in and win tonight, but what they need to do that is they need Freddie Peralta to go out there and be that ace and avoid nibbling, avoid putting them in an early hole, avoid putting a bunch of traffic on base. He's got to go out and be dominant tonight. And honestly, I don't know if Freddie is capable of that. You know, rarely do we see him pitch a clean game. He does it every couple of starts. But he's a guy that if he starts to get into trouble, he starts nibbling, he starts dancing around the zone, he starts walking guys, and that's the danger because, you know, whether Freddie is really good or not, he's always going to give up home runs, right? That's just the nature of being a fastball-heavy strikeout pitcher. Home runs are going to happen. The problem is when Freddie puts guys on ahead of those home runs. So that's what you need to see tonight. If Freddie goes out there and is dealing, then I think they have a pretty good shot.
Well, don't I feel better? As long as Freddie throws strikes and starts fast, we'll be good. Well, yeah, I mean, my dog could have told you that. I'm not making fun of Andrew's analysis. I'm making fun of the idea that should make me feel better. You know what I mean? Which was not Andrew's intention. So, again, nothing against Andrew Wagner. That was from the beginning of hour number 3 of the Bill Michaels show earlier today. You can go and find that full interview. Did about 15 great minutes. Really, really good. Good primer for tonight. Love Andrew. Mike Clemens is going to join us in about 10 minutes. Speaking of people that I love, here's my take at this hour on Packers-Bengals. The Packers are much better. They should win this game. There are no reasonable football reasons as to why this game needs to be close. There's no football reason. There's no scheme reason. There's no coaching reason. There's no roster reason that this game should be close or that the Bengals should win. However, that's not always how the NFL works. And I get a little leery and I get a little, I don't know, annoyed isn't the right word. But I'm on Twitter a ton and I'm cutting audio and I'm reading stories and I'm always kind of gathering information for Bill's show as his producer, but then always, looking for things to talk about for this show. And I see a lot of Packers content creators and Wisconsin sports people like, this shouldn't be close. This should be easy. This should be a blowout. The Packers should be able to get right in every facet of the game. And if they don't do that, if they don't blow out the Bengals and they don't look extremely good in every facet of the game, and if they struggle at all, then there's going to be an issue. And look, if the Packers struggle or if they lose this game or they have to fight the crummy Bengals down to the wire, there will be an issue. I just don't like going into a game with the idea that anything other than a blowout is unacceptable. I think that's really dangerous. I think that's tricky because that's just not how the NFL works. And if you talk to football coaches, whether it be high school, college, or certainly at the pro level too, and we tune it out and we don't listen to Matt LaFleur when he says this because we hear him say it all the time. And this is just, considered a press conference cliche. It's hard to win in this league. But you know what? It really is. And the Packers are banged up on the O-line. It looked like Belton, or not Belton, I always say Belton, Banks and Tom were on the mend. They were both limited. I don't know that either are locks to play. And if they do play, I don't know that they'll be 100%. And then Rasheed Walker didn't practice today with some, I don't remember, quad, knee, calf, whatever it was, hip. I don't remember. Who cares? So if the Packers aren't perfect on the O-line, Matt LaFleur has not exactly been outstanding out of the bye. They've been a disaster on special teams, which leaves the door open for weirdness and big-time negative plays, as Packers fans you're aware of over these last 2 games. I bristle, and I don't like the idea, well, if they don't blow them out, then we got problems. I don't know, man. Let's see how the game goes. I'm not telling you to not make predictions. I'm not telling you to not expect things of your team as 2-touchdown favorites. Yeah. The Packers should win, and they should win by multiple scores. The spread is 14.5. I'm not sure I'd pick the Packers to cover that because they haven't shown to be a team that can smash tomato cans. And there are very few teams who can, by the way. Right now, the only team in football that I really trust to handle big spreads are the Lions. Now, the Cowboys against real crappy teams, weirdly enough, the Cowboys have been this team forever. The last couple of years, the last year that Mike McCarthy and Dak were together and Dak was healthy, the year the Packers beat him in the playoffs, I mean, you could pick them every week to cover big-time home spreads, and they would do it. Some teams just have that thing. They get in their groove, and they take a lead, and they just pour it on. The Lions are that team. Other than that, you can't trust the Bills to cover big spreads. They haven't done it the last 2 or 3 weeks. You can't trust the Ravens anymore to do anything. You can't trust the Chiefs anymore to do anything. You can't trust the Chargers, who a month ago we thought might be the front runners to be a Super Bowl team in the AFC. Around the NFC, you can't trust the Rams to do anything. They had it on a platter at home on Thursday Night Football against a Niners team who had everybody hurt, and they lost outright. So again, I'm not excusing the Packers of any responsibility they have this weekend to perform well. And I am not lowering expectations. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just saying it's a dangerous school of thought, or it's a tricky trap to step into to say anything other than a 2 or 3 score blowout is a failure. I'm telling you, I just don't think that's the right way to preview a football game. I think the Packers could win by 10 points on Sunday, and there's a world in which that's everything that we need, and they check every box. There's obviously a world in which they win by 20, and it checks every box. I just kind of need to see how it goes. The NFL it's not baseball. It's not basketball, although those sports are different. It's just so hard to win, and these games are often decided by a small handful of plays, even between one of the best teams in football and one of the worst. And I think those qualifiers both apply to the Packers and the Bengals right now. And still, the Packers should win comfortably. And if they don't, we'll have to have critical conversations about whatever led to that. I just don't like going into football games saying, if it's not a blowout, it's a catastrophe. If they don't win by 3 scores, we got a problem. I don't know, man. That's normally not how football works. I'd pick the Packers, and they should win. I just don't like the framing because I don't think it's productive, and I don't think it's reflective of the sport that we're discussing. Let's take a break. We'll discuss this sport with Mike Clemens coming up next. He'll join us for courtesy of the Bay Motel up in Green Bay. And we'll hear a little bit from some of the players and the coaches around the locker room that he got to talk with throughout the week, including Christian Watson on Monday. The locker room was open yesterday. They watched practice. Today, we'll talk about some injuries, including their kicker, Brandon McManus, among plenty of other storylines. Mike Clemens next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Brandon McManus listed on the injury report. I'm assuming it's from those tackles that he had to make in the game.
It is not from the tackles. No.
So what's the? I mean, anytime your kicker's limited on injury report, what's going on there?
Yeah, that's a major concern right now. So we'll see how he's doing today and tomorrow, and then we'll have a plan ready to go.
And don't it seem like kicks just keep getting high?
So that's Matt LaFleur earlier today. I suppose you can't have any kicks blocked if you can't kick. Brandon McManus then spoke later in the day and gave some clarification and gave some updates. We'll get into that with Mike Clemens, who joins us now. Curtis, the Bay Motel in Green Bay, quiet, cozy, comfortable, less than a mile from Lambeau Field. It's right down the road. And it doesn't have to be for a Packer game. Maybe you're going to Green Bay to do whatever. There's plenty to do up there. So make your reservation there. They'll set you up, baymotelgreenbay.com. And you should definitely take advantage of the Bay Family Restaurant as well. Homestyle cooking 7 days a week to keep you fed and powered through whatever it might be, a Packers game day or a Packers weekend or whatever your reason is for visiting up there. So, Mike, a busy day up in Green Bay. We learned that the kicker is hurt, and then you had a chance to talk to the kickers. So the special teams discourse continues for us. We don't get a rest from this stuff.
Yeah, and, when you have a report football team's kicker is injured, you're like, big deal.
Whatever, loser. Figure it out, yeah.
Right. Until you actually get to Sunday and you got 78,000 people in the stands and you really could use those 3 points or even the point after, it's then pretty much you realize how rare it is. Not all 32 teams have good kickers.
Yep.
You've got a good kicker. That makes a difference. But he happens to be 34 years old. And so, he's going through his normal routine and warming up and everything. And something went kind of weird. And so, first of all, he showed up on last night's injury report, like, okay. And so we were asking about it. Because remember, there was a couple of times where he went chasing, flailing to stop the runner because the coverage was not good down in Dallas against the Cowboys. He got up limping after one of those plays. So we found Brandon McManus here in the hallway and asked him about an hour ago, so what happened to your thigh on your kicking leg at practice yesterday afternoon?
I was kicking, warming up. I had kickoffs earlier in the day, and then I was warming up for field goals. I kind of felt a tug against my quad. I gave it a couple minutes, tried again, and I just shut it down for the day. I didn't want to make it worse. It felt very similar to I had a quad type deal in 2022. We were going in to play the Ravens when I was with the Broncos, and it happened on Wednesday, and then I just pretty much took the week off and then played on Sunday.
And he later said that he plans to play. He doesn't think this will keep him out of the game, but maybe will prevent him from practicing the rest of the week. And I know the Packers have worked out some guys, and they have the Irish fella through the international player pathway, but it seems like he's going to be okay to play on Sunday, at least his words.
Yeah, well, if you're Rich Bisaccia, you're the special teams coordinator, so you're responsible for kicks. So who you got to kick? On your practice squad is this Mark McNamee, and he's from Dublin, Ireland. He's part of the international player program, which means it doesn't really have to be an NFL player, but, he can have the experience and he can take his stories back to Ireland. And from a marketing standpoint, see, Ireland and Germany are the two popular countries in Europe that are really crazy about the helmets with the G on them for whatever reason. I mean, they're just huge Packer marks. So for the Packers to take one of those players on in that program and pay him and put him up and make him a part of the team, there might be some layers to that. Yeah. Anyway, so you asked Bisaccia, so you got this kid on your practice squad. Could he be your kicker in an emergency? Also, the punter, Daniel Whelan. Now, he's actually kicked off a couple times before. Could you use him? So here's Rich Bisaccia on the Brandon McManus, your place kicker's injury that happened yesterday afternoon.
It just kind of happened, right? And so I think we're going to lean on him. To his point, he's been through this before. We'll kind of see how he feels tomorrow as to what he's going to do in tomorrow's practice, whether he gets some kicks in or not, and just kind of lean on how he feels, how the rehab part goes through the next few days. And plan on him playing on Sunday as of right now because he's been through this before and he feels like he can go. So he's a guy that's got a lot of experience, and to his point, he's been through this once before. So we'll lean in that direction until something changes.
Did you work any guys out or even if you did, are you confident in what Mark has shown you the last couple of weeks?
Well, I think Mark's a work in progress. And I think as far as working guys out, you'd have to talk to Brian and we'll see how the next few days go, but that's kind of falls in his wheelhouse a little bit.
Rich, Daniel has kicked some though before, right?
He has. He's kicked off before and he's kicked field goals. So, usually in game, I think that happened in the league this past week a little bit. In game, that would be that's the emergency situation, but they call it emergency for a reason, But it's so different to the groin area that we don't really like him to do it a lot as the weeks go on. Usually, each quarter of the season, he's going to get some kickoffs and some field goals in. So
if he's the emergency kicker, who's your emergency holder, and do those guys work together much at all ever?
We have those in place, and they work throughout the week, but for sure on Friday. They get reps together on Friday. But as to who they are, hopefully we don't ever have to find out.
Oh, well, that's reassuring. At least they're practicing a little bit. Mike Clemens is here. Matt LaFleur was asked, I think, by Tom Silverstein on Wednesday.
Emergency holder. Emergency. See,
Jesus.
when I grew up watching football, it was the quarterback that was the placeholder, and if he was hurt, it was the backup quarterback.
Very simple.
Or maybe a receiver or something like that. I wonder if like Bob Uecker was like the emergency holder during the Lombardi era. That was
somebody like that. Get anybody out there. I don't know.
It's bragging rights. Yeah, I play some baseball. I'm also the emergency holder for the Green Bay Packers. How about that? Yeah.
Matt LaFleur did talk about this on Wednesday. They asked, I think it was Tom Silverstein asked, so do you guys need to practice more? And Matt LaFleur basically said no. Like he just think they needed to shuffle some guys around. I don't know. I didn't love Matt LaFleur's comments on special teams on Wednesday. That's secondary, I guess now. That was yesterday, but something else that made me think about.
It's a little tense around here, And that reporter's name you just mentioned, he just put a full page piece out this morning that said, if it weren't for special teams and coaching, that maybe this team would be 4-0 right now. So he's been kind of critical of game management and those types of things. And also, he accurately says, now, the head coach has been very accountable in his press conferences. Last week, he went on and on, and he broke it down. Today, I asked Adam Stenavich, the offensive coordinator, because of the 2-minute drill. And, I was down in Dallas, and I came back the day after, so I wasn't in on that original LaFleur after the game kind of press conference back in Green Bay when he's had a chance to watch the tape. But you guys had that all on your shows. The detail he went into, the final 2 minutes of the game. I asked Stenavich about this. I said, so on that 4th and 6, Jordan Love makes a great completion to Matthew Golden, keeps the drive alive. Then you hit some other places to Dobbs. You're moving the ball down. So what did you guys learn, or what did your players learn then when you got to the red zone in 2 minutes? He says, Matt's covered that, and I'm going to let him handle it. Which is like,
all right.
It's like, it's not me, man. I set him up. I do the preparation during the week, but he's the play caller. He's the head coach, and it's between him and the quarterback, and the players in the field, and I'm staying up. So I found that to be, that's his role.
And
that's what his level is.
Matt LaFleur. Well, exactly. Yeah. Talk to my boss. That's above my pay grade, which is actually very relatable. Matt LaFleur's explanation, and this is a week old, but his explanation of what happened at the end of the Cowboys was like, so you guys weren't in the 2-minute? He's basically like, well, no, because we started the drive, there was 4 minutes left. And I heard that. I'm like, well, Matt, but that once you start driving, the clock goes down. You had to expect at some point the clock was going to, I don't know. This offensive staff just sometimes seems like we got to have a nickname for everything, and we got to have a category for everything. It's like, can you guys just go play football? Like, go win a game. You got good players. You've all been playing a while. Just go call the plays and win the game instead of worrying about nicknames and little labeling and categories. It just wears me out.
As you just said that, I had a flashback to one year where the Packers had tremendous expectations with their roster as to how far they could go. They were playing the team in Washington. They were heavily favored to win that game, but they had fallen behind, and the Washington team, it had a couple turnovers and had made some big plays. And now you got Aaron Rodgers and this young, talented team moving down the field. They got into about the same spot that Jordan Love and Matthew Golden, those guys were in Dallas. And they wasted about 30 seconds. Like, why wasn't the play coming in? And so I, gingerly asked Mike McCarthy about this when we got back here in Green Bay. I said, what happened between those 2 or 3 plays, or that precious 25 seconds, as to why, he ended up coming up short? And he said, well, we were in church. And he puts his hands together. So that's a signal. And that was a thing that McCarthy used in terms of what mode they were supposed to be in terms of a 2-minute offense, which I can't go into. But
sure.
But you know what eventually evolved out of that? Remember what Aaron Rodgers said his last 5-6 years in Green Bay? I'm in charge of the 2-minute offense.
Yes.
I call all the plays. And I think that's what happened. I think at some point Rodgers and his ego, if you will, or control or competitiveness, said to McCarthy, look, I know what you want. I can call it we can save ourselves 15 seconds of you know, give me that play in my helmet. Just let me call it. I can run it. Of course, the problem was now with the horse gets out of the barn and you got Aaron Rodgers throwing on every damn play to Devontae Adams when you got Alan Lazard wide open over the middle, and that ends up, you know, being the end of your season. And then you end up losing your job as a coach. So maybe that's why LaFleur is not in no big hurry to hand over the reins to the quarterback to play all those calls. You know, let me figure out what the plays are. You just accept the plays and see if you can execute them on the field. I think that's where all that stands right now. In the meantime, we got the chance to talk to Micah Parsons. One of the things I was anxious to ask him was that kind of an underreported story. In that game leading up to his big matchup against the Cowboys, he was limited in practice all week with a back injury. This back that's been nagging him. Now, he's not in the injury report this week, which is a great sign that he was able to get some rest and recovery over the bye. But I asked him, you know, he said he got out of town, went back home for his bye week. And I talked about that situation with that limited participation with the sore back going into the Cowboys game.
Yeah, you know, mind over matter, you know, just pushing yourself. And I'm just happy I had the body to be able to recover and, you know, just get through it, you know. I just had to make it one more week, and, you know, shout out to the strength staff for helping me get there.
He probably almost feels like this could be the start of his actual season, because the beginning of his season was so, I mean, he gets here a week before, he's got to get the back cleared, like the bye. If I was Micah Parsons, I'd probably like, okay, now my season begins. Now I can treat it normally. I can attack this as if this is like almost my week one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm going to play some clips when I come on with you guys tomorrow at 1:25, but you've got to earlier in Bill's show. We don't have time in this show. Micah Parsons talked to us for about 10 or 15 minutes. This dude is just unbelievable. Yeah. The way, because you know, one of the questions I asked him was, do you remember he said leading up to the Browns game, he says, yeah, I got to get some Joe Flacco. Like it's a pelt.
Yeah.
You know, he thinks of himself as a hunter, like a lion. And so he makes comparisons to, you know, to like quarterbacks, to like, you know, gazelles and stuff. You know, he wants to track them down.
Mm-hmm.
Someone said, like a cheetah? And he says, no. He said, Jamar Chase, that's a cheetah. And you know, this other guy might be a rhinoceros. But whatever, he likes thinking himself mentally as the hunter. He also told me in a question that I asked him today about when he was in high school, he got into motivational tapes, like, you know, Ali and Kobe and stuff like that.
Sure.
And he's all motivation. And so I asked, you know, his defensive coordinator, Jeff Hafley, I said, you know what? We just talked to Micah Parsons, and you can talk scheme and all that stuff. It's like he is always talking about motivation. Like, you have got to pick yourself up for the next play. I said, do you try and preach motivation, or do you try and let a player like Micah Parsons handle that for you in the locker room?
I mean, I could get in front of a room right before kickoff or at halftime and give the best motivational speech in America, just like Matt could do. And he does a great job of that. But ultimately that wears off, and you got to go play the game. You know, so a lot of that has got to come from within, like a guy like Micah, who is ultra competitive and ultra motivated, and like a lot of our guys are. But certainly you got to find different ways to motivate different players. And the way I might motivate you might be different than I motivate him. I mean, that's just the reality of it. I mean, some guys you got to get on really hard, and other guys you got to find different ways to motivate them because they don't respond well to that. So it's all individualized. So if listening to those motivational tapes helps him, then I'll buy him more motivational tapes and send him to him whenever he needs. But I don't think Micah Parsons needs much motivation to play. So I don't think a lot of our guys do. I think our guys are highly motivated right now to get back on the field. They know what they're capable of, and they're excited to play again.
I talked with Ryan Wood, and I'll play this on my show tomorrow night, Mike, just to wrap up. But he pointed out, like, in terms of, you know, is there a buzz? Is there a feel? Is it flat at practice? I think all of these players are so different, and they perceive these things so differently. And that's what that made me think of. Jeff Hafley's like, look, some players might like that stuff. Others might not. These are all individuals that need to be coached differently, but the theme throughout, hopefully, and what Hafley hinted at there, is they're all chomping at the bit to get back out there after the last two games before the bye kind of went south.
Yeah, and the injuries are significant, too. I mean, right now on offensive line, you got Rasheed Walker now, left tackle with a quad, limited. Zach Tom, I don't think he's ready yet.
Same.
still with this situation he's got. Maybe Aaron Banks could play, and he talked a little bit, but he's still limited with his ankle injury. Three guys on your offensive line, and that's not. And then in terms of your secondary, although I think the coverage has been pretty good with who they've had out there, Nate Hobbs is still in the protocol from a concussion. Nate Hobbs has been hurt, right? They gave him a nice contract, but he's been hurt in camp. Now he's been hurt in the season. You haven't seen a lot of Nate Hobbs out there in terms of earning that paycheck after they brought him in from the Raiders. So they've had a fair amount of injuries to these guys. Good news is, looks like Christian Watson might be 2 weeks away. He could probably play in the Steelers game, and then whether Jaden Reed comes back, sometime after Thanksgiving, that will all help. And who knows but that's just the way it is with the NFL. You have to manage these teams, and you got to have your second and third string ready in order to figure out a way to win games. As long as you got a quarterback.
Yeah, that's the good start, right? And it helps that they're playing a beat up and just not very good opponent this weekend, too. Mike, we appreciate you. We'll talk with you for the last half hour or so. Bill show tomorrow?
Talk to you then. Thank you, Grant.
No, thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. That's Mike Clemens. Thanks to the Bay Motel in Green Bay. Quiet, cozy, comfortable, and less than a mile from Lambeau Field. You can make your reservation, give them a call, or go online, baymotelgreenbay.com. When we come back, we'll get ready to turn things over to Zach and Ebo. They're standing live at Monk's in Sun Prairie, getting ready for their program, and it'd be a great spot to swing down. You can watch the beginning of Thursday Night Football. You can get ready for the Brewers, which will start just as their show is starting to wrap up. So maybe you can have a couple of cold ones and some food with Zach and Ebo as that game begins. We'll wrap up the Wisco Sports Show next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Zone Blitz pregame bash is back. Every Wisconsin home game 2 hours before kickoff at the Blue Moon Bar and Grill. And this year, do I have something special for you? It's a perfect snack for game day or any day. Wenzel's Farm Pro Snack Sticks. Come see me and I'll hand you 16 grams of protein to fuel you through the day. Wenzel's Farm offers that and so much more, crafted in small batches using premium cuts of meat, perfectly seasoned, and naturally hardwood smoke. Check out wenzelsfarm.com. Made by pros for pros.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Last couple minutes, the Wisco Sports Show. I'm gonna leave work here in a couple minutes, and maybe I'll listen to the game. I'll probably end up just watching on the StatCast visualizer. I can't bring myself to watch this. I'm not strong enough. I can't deal with this. Zach and Ebo standing by. Thorson and Heilprin will be live at Sun Prairie for the next hour. You guys are both gonna watch. You're much tougher than I, right?
You're one of those people that doesn't actually watch the game and then you talk about it afterwards?
This one.
I want to watch it in
I'll
bed.
arm myself with the necessary information. I will be an informed host tomorrow. I can't bring myself to watch it.
Because you're scared about it, them losing and then have to come back to Milwaukee and then Craig beating you three straight times.
Yes,
right?
that's exactly. Yes,
Boys,
in case that
boys.
was. Yes, Ebo.
This is the life of a Brewers fan. You have to watch these things.
No, it is not the life of a Brewers fan. This is the life of a Craig Counsell hater, is what Grant's going through.
Craig Counsell
Because
sucks.
he will
Brewers
never
fan and Craig
live
Counsell
down-
hater. They're one and the same. They're the exact same thing, or they should be.
If they're not, because Ebo's a Brewers fan and he doesn't hate Craig Counsell.
I despise Craig Counsell. I was watching the game. I was watching the game last night, and and you ever had that like middle school or high school girlfriend? Maybe you break up, and then like a couple of months later, you're like, "Oh, what did I see in this? I like this person. I can't believe I like this." That's how I looked at Craig Counsell watching the game yesterday. I'm looking at him like, I can't believe I like this clown, this phony, this fraud, this can't stand the guy. Hey, Grant.
That was the perfect way to wrap up the show. Thank you. Only have about 60 seconds left. What are you guys going to talk about tonight? More of that, I hope.
Yeah, that obviously, and we'll talk a little Badgers, talk about Packers. Obviously, huge game for the Packers coming up on Sunday.
Joe Flacco starting quarterback.
Badgers have a big one Saturday night. A must win, a needed win,
and
the biggest game of the Luke Fickle era.
And we'll talk about, like we did last Thursday, how handsome Grant Bills is.
Thank you.
Yes, we will.
Unrelated, where did you take all of the Wenzel's Farm snack sticks? There were none in your office, and I wanted my 16 grams of protein today, and there were none. Did you take
I have
them all
about 2,000. I have a little over 2,000 of them in my spare room at my house.
Yes.
So I will be bringing some to you, Grant Bills.
Okay. Well, I just want to make sure we're not running out. Not for me. I just want to make sure our listeners.
I have over 2,000. We are okay.
Well, the Badgers
He'll never run out.
The Zone Blitz pregame bash on Saturday. We're going to need some. I look forward to listening tonight. I can't join you, but soon I will stop out there.
You made your one stop. It's all good.
Stop.
I love you.
I'll be back. I'll be back.
You're very handsome.
Probably. All right.
Love you,
That's it.
Grant.
Thank you. You guys have a great night. Thank you for commenting on my appearance. Always. Enjoy the Brewer game tonight. Whatever. We'll talk about whatever happened tomorrow.